Or- Hey guys, welcome to Owl Radio, and today we're going to have episode 1 of a brand new show for you today. So this is going to be our first episode of Amani and Andrew After Hours. So today I've got a couple of guests in here for the foreseeable future. They'll be taking over your Monday nights to discuss whatever's on their mind and talk to some student organizations. So go ahead and introduce yourselves, guys. Here you go.
Hi, everybody. My name is Amani Johnson, and I am the SGA president, and I'm super excited to take over your Monday nights, and you get an insight to us after hours.
Hi, everybody. Just bouncing off of that. I'm Andrew Whitmere. I'm the SGA vice president. Fully echo the sentiments of my wonderful president and say that we're so excited to be here to take over your Monday nights.
So let me get this straight. You guys are the president and vice president of SGA, right? So that's the Student Government Association.
Correct.
Absolutely.
That's us.
So what's that like? Just now that you're off the clock.
So, it's busy. It's definitely a lot more than I thought. I was super excited to be in this position, and it's everything I expected and more, in both a good way and both in a very busy way. So I feel like I'm never off the clock. And even this is us after hours, I'm still doing stuff for SGA. So I love it. I wouldn't trade it, but it's definitely a big commitment, and you're really never off the clock. I'm sure Andrew agrees. It doesn't matter if it's 10 o'clock at night, someone from SGA might call you, say, hey, I'm working on this. Can you take a look at it? I'm like, no, I'm getting ready for bed. I'm in my PJs. Don't text me. Don't call me. I'm off. But yeah, that's what I would say.
I was going to say, I would not wish this on my worst enemy.
Stop, Andrew.
I'm kidding. No, this is very fulfilling work, but it is extremely time consuming. I go to bed, and the first thing that, I think about right when I'm going to bed is SGA. I wake up. I think about SGA. I would say this, though, is that, this is very much like a full-time job. We hear about the things that happen at other universities, right, in their SGAs, so like UGA or Tech. Man, are we not alone in how much work this job is. I know a lot of people might have the idea, at least like thinking about at least high school student government and just like the work they did there. But I'm telling you that at least the idea of like that we're just sort of in here playing government, it is not that, I can promise you.
You know, a lot of people probably don't realize this, but I think I can really relate to you guys. I may not be in student government, but, running the Sentinel, being Rachel's second in command here at Owl Radio, I'm pretty much on the clock 23 hours a day. That's what I tell all my staff. I'm like, you call me at 3 in the morning, I'm going to be real mad, but I'll answer. And I'll do the job.
And be mad about it.
Yeah, that's how it is. You're going to hear about it, but I will answer, and I will help you out.
The next day, though.
Yeah, the next day, expect Starbucks.
Is
at
always
least.
another story. You're going to owe me if you call me that late.
Exactly.
For sure.
But hey, I guess it's just part of the job. I'm sure it's nice working with people around your own age before you get into the real working world, shall we say.
I don't know. I think I prefer the old people now. No, I'm just kidding. Not old people, but I think I like both aspects of it. It's definitely nice to work with like-minded people of your own age, and who kind of understand what it's like to be our age. But I personally love working with administration, from our vice president of student affairs and our advisor, Dr. Arneson. I feel like me and him are best friends. He might have a different take on it, but I talk to him so much through email and showing up at his office. Hey, Dr. Arneson, I need your help with something. And just our scheduled meeting times. So I really appreciate working with him and Dr. Briggs, our other advisor, and really all the administration, through email, through in-person, through everything. They're really helpful. And I say this wholeheartedly, that I really think our administration cares a lot about the students and student success and student well-being. And I can't speak for other universities because obviously I don't go anywhere else, and this is the only college I've ever been to. But I know a lot of other schools, people don't have the same accessibility to their administrators and the same relationships. And I truthfully think that, again, they're not really my friends, but as much as we communicate and as much as I feel like they have my back and I have their back, it really does feel like a friendship, a business, school, adult, child, whatever, relationship, friendship that that I really cherish and I think is really invaluable. And that's something, it's one of my favorite parts of the job is getting to build those connections. And who knows, one day maybe they'll give me a job, hopefully. If you're hearing this, I'll be looking for a job in May 2022 when I graduate. I'm an accounting major with a Spanish minor. So my name is Amani Johnson.
Put her in the accounting department, folks, please.
Maybe not.
But yeah, I would just build up on top of that, and that what I think is actually kind of refreshing, at least being in the positions that we are, is that I hope I'm actually getting picked up right now, but whatever. That we don't get condescended to as much as we might expect, right? Like we're not treated as if like we're kids and like. In a way that you might typically see where I know like a certain administrators, if you're sort of like pushing against the grain and like you're, doing something that they may not like, that they may just sort of talk down to you and be like, oh yeah, you're a kid, you don't really know what you're talking about or whatever. But even if you're the person that's in the wrong, right, they sort of walk you through it and be like, no, it's not that you're stupid. It's not that like, you don't know what you're doing. It's just like, you just don't have the full picture and like yada yada. In some cases, that may be a little bit disingenuous, but I mean, that's the nature of sort of parsing through all of that. But the people that we work with on the day-to-day, as she said, Dr. Arneson and Dr. Briggs, I mean, they're fantastic. And we can't go into specifics about this, but we were on the presidential search committee to go find a wonderful new president of this university. And the folks that we were working with there were excellent. They were very, very receptive to the ideas that me and Amani were putting forth. So, yeah.
Yeah. If we can also talk quickly about the first presidential search committee meeting. Like we said, we can't go into too much detail about it, but we are serving on that committee, so we're super excited to hear student concerns. We're actually going to be having some listening sessions coming up to hear what students' perspective of what they're looking for in the next president. I know a lot of us, or maybe some upperclassmen, have been through 2 or 3 presidents at their time here at Kennesaw. So where we really want to take into consideration everyone's opinion. So be on the lookout for that. But something kind of funny is that I wasn't originally going to the committee meeting because I had basketball practice. I'm also an athlete. I play women's basketball here. And I was in the middle of practice doing defensive drills, and our COO came and pulled me out of practice and was like, Amani, are you supposed to be at the search committee meeting? And I was like, oh, no, I told her I wasn't going. And she was like, no, you need to go. Like, you don't understand how important this is. And I was like, well, I'm at practice. And she was like, no, I'm going to take you right now. Let's go. So I showed up in my practice uniform with my ankle braces on. I had slides on, my practice jersey. It was pretty embarrassing, but they knew where I was coming from. So it was kind of funny, kind of comedic. Me and Andrew were definitely like, yeah, they definitely got to see the full student perspective of us. But like he said, they really took into consideration everything we said, any comments or questions that we had about the process and about anything going forward. They were really receptive to hearing and listening. And even though I was in basketball clothes, I think it didn't hinder it that much.
Yeah, they were very respectful.
Yeah, which they didn't have to be, because literally, me and Andrew were not best dressed that day.
Oh, come on. I mean, I was dressed okay. I just had a sweater with a hole in it, but it's, it's fine. But I guess just sort of touching on that, like the listening sessions, that's something that we really want students to look out for, and we'll be advertising in the future, is that we want people to come out and we want them to tell us, exactly what they want to see out of like the next president of the university. That, again, we want to hear that perspective. Me and Amani are on that committee for a reason, and it's literally to go out and talk to students. And, we want to hear what y'all have to say. We have about like 3 planned over the course of this month until the next time we meet. And so, yeah, be on the lookout for that. But, yeah, also, if you have your own ideas as well about the type of person you'd like to see, don't hesitate to reach out to the SGA page as well. Just DM them and be like, hi, I'm a student that was listening to Amani and Andrew After Hours. Please, like, I have something dire that you need to hear. I really want the next president to not be a terrible, awful person. And you can let us know, and we'll be receptive.
As amusing, shall we say, it is that you guys maybe weren't showing up with the same level of visual professionalism. I think we have plenty of suits representing the bigwigs here at KSU, so I think it was definitely maybe not beneficial, but I think it was interesting to offer that kind of indirect perspective. I mean, you guys are students, you have lives outside of SGA as much as it may encroach upon your free time. But I think it's important for people to know, hey, our student government is run by people who, they're involved. They really are students. They're not just
Man, I skipped
suits in
class.
training.
Yeah, I also think they're lucky that they got us to come. It was at 10 a.m. So
Yeah.
Oh,
we could have came in
man.
our pajamas. They should be happy that we came how we were. Cause
I mean, that actually does touch on a nice aspect of SGA, which is that it basically is a job.
Yeah.
It forces us to not be normal college students with lives or whatever, at least to a certain extent, where they're pulling us in and making us sit in on 2-hour-long meetings. But we enjoy it, though. I think it's a very fulfilling experience. And if anyone's interested in doing SGA, we highly recommend it. I know we've been talking about how tough of a job it is, but it really
But
is.
it's awesome. We love it, actually.
I am notably bad at doing pitches.
Yeah, Andrew's bad, so I'll take this if I can. And like Andrew said, it is very fulfilling. It is a lot of work. It's obviously a little bit more work for he and I than all the positions because we are, president, vice president, as you guys have heard probably 5 times already. But if you like helping students and you like really making a difference, this is the best organization for you. A lot of organizations on campus are really fun and they get to do fun events. And, we're not primarily focused on planning events, although we will have a few throughout the year. We are the people that really get to make change. And sometimes we have to be the bad guys and let administration know some stuff that they might not want to hear. But like I said, they're super receptive and they want to help in any way they can. And that's the best part about what we get to do is actually seeing change for students. And one thing that I'll just touch on last year that I was a part of was creating a women's resource center on the Marietta campus. And we have one here on the Kennesaw campus, and it's able to be utilized by students on Marietta campus and on Kennesaw campus, but the Marietta campus predominantly STEM students, and it just seemed like the students over there, since it's so male-dominated fields, STEM and engineering and architecture and all those things that are going to make the big money. Seriously though, it seemed like the female students over there really needed a place to gather and have a sense of community, and that was something that I noticed through talking to students. And I was like, why is this something that we can make happen? And I kind of drug my feet the whole year trying to reach out to the right person to help me get it done. And a lot of people were like, that's a great idea, let me know how it goes. And I was like, no, you let me know how I can make it happen. And then finally it picked up, and now there is a women's resource center there, which is currently being utilized now, so that's exciting. It is ran by 2 graduate students, I'm pretty sure, grad assistants that take care of that office over there and get a chance to work with students and build a sense of community, and also help with programming that kind of mirrors what we have here at the Women's Resource Center over here. So that's just one example of something that I was personally a part of. The rest of the e-board last year and other senators, and then my e-board now in the Senate that we have now, have been really, really working. So I know a lot of really good things are going to be coming out of them this year as well, probably in the spring, as they're kind of in the planning stages and early stages of a lot of their projects that they're working on. But I know that they're definitely going to have some good things coming out of SGA. So don't stop bringing us your concerns, your questions, your comments, your issues, and even things that are positive. The administration, as much as they want to fix things, they also like to hear what's working and what we like, because if they don't, then they don't know how to continue to plan and best organize things for us. So, yeah, it's a good job. It is a job, but it is super fulfilling. That's the whole thing I was supposed to be pitching SGA for anyone who wanted to get involved. So, yes. Also, like Andrew said earlier, DM our page, our Instagram page at ksu.sga. If you have any questions, you can also message me personally. My @ is Amani Johnson _ and Andrew
is my name just Andrew Whitmayer, Wittmayer. It's a horrible last name.
Yeah, everyone spells it wrong. I'm pretty sure for like the first month that me and Andrew were campaigning last year, when we really got close and started running for these positions, I spelled it WHITT. It just seems like an H should be there.
Everyone does it, man. It's awful.
Yeah. So enough of us now. Any other questions? Or we just keep rambling?
Now, I know this show is called After Hours, so we will be pivoting away from the whole SGA thing as much as it pains me not to talk about KSU
We just
24/7.
love talking about
Um,
ourselves.
Go
They're
out.
narcissists.
Who do you?
But I will say, seriously, beautiful people out there, these guys, I've known them for a few weeks now. They really are looking out for you. These are the guys you want to talk to if you want something to change. So seriously, take them up. They say reach out. Don't be afraid. Don't be like, oh, they probably don't want to hear from me, because seriously, talking to them is your best bet for seeing something happen. I mean, that's just so cool that the Women's Resource Center on the Marietta campus really was able to happen thanks to your work and the people you work with. I mean, just being able to see real results and not just, empty promises and signed paperwork for things to supposedly happen in the far distant future. I think it's really nice, especially to bring that to the attention of people who might be, a little on the ledge about whether or not you guys can really do anything. But I think that really is kind of a big way to say, hey, we're here. We are looking out for you guys as students, and we care what you have to say. So seriously, reach out, please. They need to hear it. They want to hear it, and I want them to hear it.
I'll just build up on top of that. Those were very kind words.
Thank you.
It does mean a lot. And say that at least with student government, that we don't like to treat it as like if it's like a social club or whatever, or if we're coming in here and just sort of patting ourselves on the back and slapping this stuff on our resume. We actually, the entire point of our roles right now is that we want to be helping other people, right? We want to be helping fellow students because, those are our jobs. And if we're not doing that, then we're doing bad. At the end of the day, like if we're not constantly seeking out problems to solve and doing everything within our power to at least address those issues, then we may as well just sort of dip and resign. Why do we have a student government in the first place if we're not here to be helping all of you? So like our wonderful DJ said here, Alex, we really want to be helping you. So reach out, please. If you have a concern that you really need addressed, we're here for you.
Now, like I said, let's pivot away from the SGA talk, because this is After Hours with you two. So we want to know what goes on in the after hours. So let's, like I said, we're going to take a little pivot. So, Amani, I have a question. Now, you said...
She's ready for it.
You said you are an athlete. And I can see here that you're wearing something that seems that it would be indicative of that, KSU basketball.
She's just a big fan.
Oh, I'm sure that's all it is. I gotta ask, how'd you get your start with basketball?
So I started playing basketball in 3rd grade. That was a long time ago. But before that, my dad actually played basketball in college. So before I was old enough, the reason I started playing in 3rd grade was because that was our rec league in my elementary school. That was the first you could play was 3rd grade. But before that, my dad always had me dribbling a ball. We had a hoop in the backyard. We used to go to the YMCA in my neighborhood and do dribbling drills and skills and little clinics and camps there with this guy named Bob. He was awesome, old guy. I'm not sure if he's still alive, but if not, rest in peace, because Bob was awesome. He was really helped me get started in my basketball career. And I don't think I ever give him credit for it. So shout out to Bob, man.
Shout out to Bob, fellas. We love to hear it.
Let's get some dubs in the chat for Bob.
But yeah, so it really started there, just at home with my dad playing basketball, and he kind of just from a young age instilled that love for basketball in me. And I actually grew up playing every sport pretty much. In high school, I played 5 sports. I played in the fall, I played soccer and volleyball. And then in the winter, I did basketball. And then in the spring, I did softball for 3 years. And then my last year, our softball team kind of fell apart a little bit. And one of the players that I played for a long time graduated. So I just wasn't interested in playing anymore. And I was about to come to college when I graduated from play basketball, like I said. So I thought doing track would help me with my conditioning. So, I played pretty much every sport. I also swam when I was younger from like age 5. That was actually, I guess, the first sport that I probably did that was competitive with the team was swimming. I started that from 5, and I did that all the way until I graduated, no, I think until 11th grade because then I had to commit my summers to AAU basketball to get a scholarship, which luckily I did. So, yeah, that's how I got my start in a little bit of my journey. And now here I am at good old Kennesaw State.
That's really cool. I love to see people who, they find something that just works for them when they're real young, and you see, oh man, they really stuck it out. They're still doing it today. I think that's really admirable. I know I didn't do that at all. I ran the whole gamut with sports, and I tell you what, I'm probably the laziest person I know nowadays. So
I'm surprisingly very lazy as well. People, if anyone's listening that knows me, they probably don't believe it. Unless they know me really well, then they definitely believe it. Anytime that I actually get free time or like Christmas break when I have no school but I'm still here for basketball, or when I finally get to go home for a couple days for Christmas break, I sit my behind on the couch and I watch TV, I watch movies, I watch Netflix. I ask my mom to bring me any snack. I'm so lazy, I don't even want to get up and get snacks, nothing. So I don't get a lot of free time, so I think that's why I'm so lazy in my free time. So although I'm very active and I'm always running around doing 1,000 things, when I get free time, it's going to be hard to get me out of bed.
I'm going to say slackers have the best personalities, though. We're type A, unfortunately. But if we could just retire and do nothing, we kind of would. I'm not going to lie.
I tell you what, I'd do the same thing. If you told me tomorrow I could retire, I'd be done with it. Just let me go live as a strange mole man up in Stone Mountain. Call it a day.
I'm gonna say my personal dream of mine is just get a ranch in Montana and never ever come out, just raise my cattle, and that's it.
I'm more of a beach girl. I would like to have a private island that's undiscoverable and just live there and not have anyone ever be able to contact me or reach me, and pretty much just swim and not get eaten by sharks because I love the ocean and the beach, but I am afraid of sharks, but I also like to swim in the ocean, so it's kind of contradictory, and I also find sharks very interesting. This has totally taken a twist from how I started basketball.
Amani, what's your favorite Shark Week show? Go.
My favorite Shark Week show? I don't even know. I don't ever watch Shark Week, really, but I used to watch shark videos on YouTube all the time, which was weird. But anyways, yeah, I'm terrified of sharks, and I'm scared to get eaten by one, and I feel like for some reason I just really feel like that's going to be the way I go. Hopefully I'm 103 though, or something really old. I don't know why. It's super unlikely to get eaten by a shark. But I love Jaws, and I love going to the beach.
Jaws is a great movie.
But it's just very contradictory. I think the fascination also scares me. I don't know, but that's my spiel about sharks.
That's very interesting. I think the beach is admirable. I think sharks are really cool. We're definitely going to have to come back to that in a moment.
Yeah.
But Andrew, I have a question for you now.
Oh, gosh.
He has no talents. Don't ask.
Oh, come on.
Just kidding.
Now, like I said, the beach is admirable. The beach, I think that's also a pretty good standard pick, a safe pick for where you want to, go to if you never had to work. But Andrew, I have to ask, how'd you come to the realization that your dream retirement place would be a ranch in Montana where you raise your cattle and never leave? How did you get to this fantasy?
Okay, so here's a fun thing that I've learned about myself over the course of my college career. I am majoring in history and political science. I really, unfortunately, have an intuitive knack for doing politics, which does not correlate to being a good person. Every day I feel like my soul is eroding, and I'm becoming worse and worse while I try to do good. But looping that back, it's just I have a feeling that whatever my career path ends up being, it will be in some position. I just want to do gangbusters there, do as much good work as I can, and then I want to get to that ranch and do what I actually like, my actual talent, which is writing, historical writing in particular, and just write history. To be honest, if I was a rich man and did not come from a poor family, I would probably just be a historian. But now I have a weird neurosis where I want to do as much as I possibly can in this life and then retire and do what actually makes me happy. But yes, the ranch in Montana, I think I think Montana in particular, it's a very beautiful locale. I want to go visit there at least over this winter break. Go stay in like some ranch there. The mountain's beautiful. It's near Yellowstone. Yellowstone is a place I want to go on my bucket list. And yeah, Montana. That's the dream.
Now, if you people out there, you beautiful people, if you happen to live in Montana, you own a ranch up there, watch out. This guy's coming for you this winter. So lock up your cows, lock up your horses, make sure he can't steal them.
I'm gonna buy your property off you. If I ever get even a whiff of capital, yeah, I'm coming. I'm coming to buy that property. Anyways,
You folks watch out up north up there. So let's cycle back to Amani for a minute. Sharks. Sharks are cool. Sharks are great. I love them. They're just real big dudes. Some of them are real small dudes, but I gotta ask, Amani, what's your favorite shark?
there's only one correct answer.
Great white shark.
Nope, you're wrong. It's hammerhead.
I gotta say, you're both wrong on this one. Cookie cutter sharks are the way to
What does
go.
a cookie cutter
I
shark
know
look
nothing
like?
of this sort.
You don't know what how can you call yourself a shark fan and not know what a cookie cutter
I
shark
know this
is?
is an audio-only podcast, but we've got to look up a picture of a cookie cutter.
Now, I will
right
tell them
now.
right now. They are looking up a cookie cutter shark. For you listeners at home, you beautiful people that may not be able to look this up right now, it is a fascinating little guy.
It's not. It's not. She's looking at me at a previous thing that I Googled about doubling time.
He's a time traveler. I'm finding out.
No, it was for my one gen ed that I've saved for my senior year. It's not going to load. I'm not going to be able to see the picture of the cookie cutter.
I'll
That's
try.
fine.
In the
You'll,
meantime, my obsession with sharks kind of came from watching megalodon videos.
Megalodon videos.
So I don't know if anyone is interested in megalodons, but that's kind of how I got into sharks because I don't know. YouTube is a hole. And I know everyone has fallen into the slippery slope of YouTube. You look up like how to fix my kitchen sink and then you end up watching like ASMR video of someone eating like live squid or something. That's
Why
like
do you listen to ASMR? Is
I
that-
don't, but I'm just saying. You know, everyone has
Amani.
seen those videos. Anyways, I found the picture of the shark, and
Let me see this. Let's.
he doesn't look that special to me.
Now,
Ew.
fun fact about
Oh.
these little
Oh,
dudes.
he looks special because of that.
Viewers,
Okay.
do not Google cookie cutter shark.
They're real little dudes, but they were real powerful. Fun fact about history. So this is a historical shark fact. This one gets both of you guys in one go.
Oh God.
Back in the war, in the Cold War, America and the Soviet Union, you know, they had their submarines. These guys would latch onto submarines and mess with the sonar.
What is sonar? Never mind. You're laughing at me.
We just got that was
I'll
great
Google
dead
it
air right there. That was
time.
amazing.
And so so their submarines would pick up that something was nearby. These little guys were strapped onto the submarines with their big old mouths full of teeth. And they'd be stuck on and they'd be like, my God, we're under attack. And we almost had a real bad time where Soviets thought they were being attacked by the U.S. and the U.S. thought we were being attacked by Soviets. But turns out it was just some funky little guys.
I was gonna say one of my speaking of aquatic strats and intelligence, one of my favorite U.S. CIA or whatever Cold War stories is how just for whatever reason the CIA was like trying to learn how to train dolphins to just go and do reconnaissance. And they just thought it was going to work. They thought it was one, a good idea, and one that it was completely entirely possible. And of course, it didn't work out very well.
I can only wonder how many taxpayer dollars that cost.
Approximately $10 billion. All of like, it's so funny to think about how much money was wasted on the weird little experiments that were happening during the Cold War. But in any case,
All right, Andrew, we're going to come back to you for a moment. You've given me some food for thought here with this dolphin reconnaissance. So maybe that is your answer to the question I have for you. But I have one more question before we take a brief break, maybe 30 seconds max. But here we go. So you said you are very interested in history. Now, there's a lot of weird history out there. I think anybody knows that just from a cursory glance at the past. So I got to ask, what's your favorite weird history fact?
my favorite weird history fact. Oh, there's so many great ones.
If it's about Pepsi and their military, I would love to hear it tomorrow.
I was gonna say that I have I hate getting too deep into these historiographical discussions because it's only interesting if you've even been a history major. But I will say that my specialization, I guess, is a lot in political history. Maybe it's a smattering of international relations as well. But if anyone knows me in particular, I did a lot of reading about President Lyndon Johnson, and he was like a real interest of mine for a hot second. And one of the things that I think is most interesting about him is that he would control like his subordinates, right? So I'm sure everyone's like sort of aware of the fact that like he would. Oh God, I don't know if I can actually say this on air.
I believe you're referring to how he used his
Yeah.
his below the belt area.
Yes, that and how he would do number two with the door open, and he would make his aides take notes, and so people would sort of he was a wild guy, but the reason he would do that was not out of like I don't know, like it wasn't
pure
like
disgust.
It wasn't like pure disgust or whatever. I mean, he was trying to disgust people, but the reason he was really doing that type of thing was that if he could get his aides and his subordinates to do that stuff, he could get them to do anything. So essentially it was like a test to like keep his people in line because he was like a control freak. Lyndon Johnson, a very, very interesting character. A political genius, by the way, but a kind of a bad guy. Like personally, I wouldn't be friends with the guy if I knew him.
You heard it here first, folks. Andrew would pass up the opportunity to meet the president if it was Lyndon B. Johnson.
I don't trust a single president, Amani included.
Dun dun dun.
You know,
I don't trust
that
myself
is
either.
that is such a fascinating fact. I mean, how do you even go into that kind of stuff? You could spend, I could sit here and listen to you for a day, just listening to your talks about Lyndon B. Johnson and
This is Andrew's softcore history.
and his strange antics. So I think that's given you guys just a bit of a cursory glance into maybe some of the aspects of our SGA president and vice president you may not have wanted to know in the first place.
I respect it.
You can go up to these guys, you can ask them about their daily lives, but it's only here you're gonna find out about Amani's fascination with sharks and Andrew's penchant for strange presidents. But real quick, I just want to give a shout out. So coming up, we've got a panel on domestic violence to help spread awareness. It's being hosted by, let's see, Dr. Phillips. What's the first name on that? Dr. I don't have, it's not on the flyer. I'm not really sure why. But it's coming up soon on October 11th. It's Monday, 7 to 8:30 p.m. You can contact KSU Advocacy at kennesaw.edu to find out more information. And if you'd like to go listen to speaker Kimberly S. Garrett with the KSU Student Advocacy Department. They're doing this panel. I think you really should go check it out. We're giving it a shout out here at Al Radio because we think it's really we think it's worth your time. And so thank you for lending your ears to that brief little advertisement, shall we say? Not funded, of course, by the department. We do not accept monetary assistance in that regard, but just wanted to give them a shout out because we think it's really a worthy cause. But to pivot off of that, we've been here about 35 minutes. We've had ourselves quite a good time talking about you guys, but I have to ask, since this is kind of a preview for the rest of your show in the future, they will be talking to other registered student organizations and other members of SGA. I have to ask, you got me here. Do you guys have any questions about student media, like maybe relevant to my position or otherwise?
Absolutely.
Yes, we couldn't wait to flip the script and ask you some questions.
Oh, well,
Say,
that
do you
gives
wanna
me
go
a...
or
No,
me?
Andrew, you can go first.
Now I'm a little
Say,
Get
is
in
that-
scared.
there.
Shaking in my boots here.
Oh gosh, I got some real heaters for you. I know that I can speak for myself and that in my capacity as VP, I've been talking to the Sentinel and talking to Owl Radio and talking to student media, trying to assess what their problems are. And at least as much as we can discuss on air, I'd like you to sort of touch on the things that are afflicting y'all.
You know, I think this one just kind of goes across the board. Communication is a difficult subject for a lot of people. I think a big part of it is just how electronic things have gotten these days. You know, you send someone an email, it's really easy to accidentally, you forget to respond or you have to send it down the chain of emails, and it makes things a little messy. Not to go too deep into it, but I mean, we have this problem. We have it with writers, we have it with people we contact, we have it with some of our staff even. It's just a little communication is very important, both with newspapers and with radio stations. So it's just kind of the biggest challenge we face is people that maybe don't come in with the communication skills we're expecting of them. But, you can always teach people to be better.
Yeah, that's something that we're trying to do within SGA as well. I mean, like we always encounter the problem with a lack of miscommunication or a lack of communication or miscommunication on the day to day. It's just it's seriously a problem, at least across the board, and it becomes a very serious problem when it affects your day to day as well. And so we seriously empathize, and yeah, we're trying to make sure that we at least fix those issues where we can. I think building up on top of that, I'd want to touch on at least like what do you want to see from the university in regard to assisting student media? Like what type of support do you want, at least not from just us, but from administrators and faculty?
I think it would be really cool just to have like a relationship established. I understand there are procedures, there are policies that we follow so that we can speak to people in an official regard, but I think it would be just really beneficial for both sides if, people above us would just, swing by the newsroom. We're in there every Monday. We're working our tails off trying to make a newspaper that the students are going to read. It's a lot more complicated than I'm sure a lot of people realize. So I think it could be an interesting experience if people were willing to come by. We actually were able to meet Stratcom in person, Strategic Communications.
How'd that go?
I think it went pretty well. It was very brief, but it was nice to put a name with a face, which I think is the big thing because they didn't really visually they weren't familiar with any of us, and we didn't really know them visually. So it's kind of hard, when somebody's just a name behind an email.
Mm-hmm.
So just in general, I think that would be really cool. Is if maybe one day the interim president wants to swing by, see what happens in the newsroom. We get up to our little antics, shall we say? But for the most part, we're professional. We're just trying to do a job that a lot of people may not realize is complicated when it very much so is.
I was gonna say just building up on top of that.
I'm chopped liver. I don't get a question. Go ahead, Andrew.
I'm gonna let you go in a second. I was just gonna say that like the job that student media does on campus is extremely important, right? And what I would implore at least anybody listening to consider is that, one, read your student newspaper where you can. You want to know what's going on campus, but consider the job that they're doing. We obviously hate it whenever people high up in the university in decision-making roles, be they professors or administrators, are acting out of line, I would guess. But the job of student media, I guess, is to check those people. When you see, I like to use the example of University of Michigan and the at least turmoil that was going on in their drama department as a fantastic example. No one really would have known that was happening had student media at that university not broken up that issue. That if you do not support student media, or if student media isn't getting the support they need from the university, right, a lot of, at least, malfeasance would go by unaddressed, right? And there's only so much people can do without at least having that I guess, the fourth estate of the university where we have student government and shared governance or whatever. But having student media to come in and break open those issues, because people need to be aware of this stuff. People need to be able to know, and student media needs to investigate if there's any wrongdoing on campus. Not to say that there's anything as horrendous as what was going on at University of Michigan going on here, but it's something that's necessary for a functioning, healthy campus. But with that, I will pass it off to my president, who is so mad at me for wanting to make that excellent point.
I'm not mad. That was a great point. Thank you, Andrew. I would like to now turn the page from this stuff and get to know a little bit about you, our Owl Radio host for today. So, how did you get into student media?
Well, it's a really funny story. So way back when I started at KSU, it was, spring of 18, I think. I've been here for a minute. Actually, no. Yeah, no, spring of 18. Sorry, I forget sometimes. I'm getting up there in age, coming in like an old man. But no. So when I got started, I was actually a criminal justice major. But my family back home in Columbus, they were all like, Alex, you should do something with your time. Don't just sit in your dorm and play video games after classes all day. And I was like, ugh, fine. So I went out and I was like, what is the least social thing I can do on campus? And somehow I managed to find my way to the Sentinel, which, for those of you who don't know, is our student-run newspaper, of which I am currently the editor-in-chief. It's a pain in the neck, but you love it. But anyway, so I started there, and I got really into writing. And about a year into doing that, I ended up changing my major to journalism. Then I just kind of climbed up the ranks, doing whatever I could to take over what needed to be done. And now here I am, having a panic attack on the daily because of the stress of running the newspaper. I'm joking. For all legal reasons, that was a joke. But yeah, I love my job. I've been doing it pretty much the whole time I've been at KSU. I started with Owl Radio this year. I run a show on the channel about board games and card games and other what have you that can be played on a table, and I participate in our events and stuff. I love student media. Really, I think it's the best part of KSU.
Awesome. I think SGA is the best part of KSU.
It's not a competition.
But moving on.
It's not a competition.
Well, shall we
work
say the best thing
together.
for me at KSU? There we go.
Everyone has their cup of tea. I will accept that answer. So going off that, I didn't know you were into board games and card games. I actually really love card games and board games a little bit too. I've had like every board game growing up. So what is your favorite board game and your favorite card game? I'm curious.
You can be as nerdy as you want.
My favorite board and card game. That is a fun little question. I was talking to a friend of mine that was on the show with me this last episode I did, and I remember I specifically told him, Rio, you cannot just ask someone what their favorite board game is off the top of their head. But you know what?
A massive party foul. I hope you know that. You need
It's
to apologize.
okay. It's all right, because I've had some time to think because of my friend Rio asking me that question. So I think... as far as board games go, it's a little bit less of a traditional board game, but I really enjoy Dungeons and Dragons.
It's sick.
Um,
It's very fun whenever you get the chance. It's very time consuming.
It is very time consuming, but I run a campaign. I play in another campaign. I love doing it. I love the minis. I love doing a battle map. And
What class do you like best?
my favorite class in Dungeons and Dragons, I would have to absolutely say Artificer.
Okay.
Recently released in the new book Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Absolutely a banger of a source book. Artificer is just chef's kiss.
Sick.
I know nothing of this.
I can banter at the very least. I'll say that that rogue is definitely the most fun for me because I
That's
like
fair.
being a tiny little goblin and running around and stealing things from people. I think that's the most fun to role play, to be honest.
Oh man, Rogue is a good time. Dungeons and Dragons definitely my favorite board game. Whether it involves a board or not is tenuous at best because sometimes it does and sometimes it does not. But really, I think that does have to take the cake for my favorite board in air quotes game. Because card games, I get a little more specific. Definitely a card game, maybe not so traditional, but I love Sabak.
Never heard of it.
No.
Sounds familiar.
For those
Of
of
course,
you,
Andrew fake knows. He doesn't know either.
I'm not capping. It
You
sounds
beautiful
familiar.
people out there.
C-A-P.
uh,
That spells cap. Cap.
may recognize the name of the game. It is from Star Wars. If you've seen Solo, it's the game that Han Solo plays to get his hands on the Millennium Falcon from Lando.
Okay.
Confession, I've never seen any Star Wars.
That's okay.
It's fine.
You don't get paid to watch Star Wars. You get paid to do SGA stuff.
I was gonna say, but you don't engage in the culture. How do you feel? I'm not a big
Fire
Star.
me.
I'm
I'm
not a big
sorry.
Star Wars guy either, but I have seen the movies because I had a childhood. I don't like the dead air right there. Oh my lord.
For the longest time, I actually played Sabak with some homebrewed rules, kind of just theming it about what we knew from like the Star Wars extended universe. Don't get me even started on that kind of stuff. But anyway, I played with a standard deck of cards, made it work. But recently, my partner went to Disney World and was
Okay.
able to get an official licensed Sabak deck.
Okay.
And it's a whole lot of fun.
Wow.
I was gonna say, Amani, have you ever played Catan? Do you know what that is?
Have you played Catan? I also am curious.
I don't believe I have played
Okay,
Catan.
okay,
I don't know
so
what that is.
I'm announcing this on air to anybody that's listening right now. We're gonna have SGA Catan nights, and we're gonna watch Amani get really, really into it for no reason. One of my favorite ever sports stories, because I do like sports.
I dabble. You dabble?
I dabble a little bit in sports as I watch baseball every single night and get really mad at the television screen. But one of my favorite sports stories was when it's the 2013 the Packers, that team just for whatever reason got really, really into Catan. And so there was this wonderful write-up, and I think it was either Sports Illustrated or this now kind of bad outlet, Deadspin, that wrote a whole piece on how the Packers and their defensive line or whatever were just really, really into playing this one very, very nerdy, at that time, sort of niche Catan game. So anyway,
can someone tell me what Catan is, just briefly, or not really? Is
you
it hard to
could
explain?
probably explain it a little bit better than me.
So I'm just going to go over the basics because Catan is a game with a culture. I could go into that, but we're not going to do that because, I don't want to take up too much of time talking about Catan. So Catan, also known as Settlers of Catan, is a game where you have a map made out of hexagonal tiles. So these tiles each have a place, a type of biome. There's stuff like desert, stuff like forest, general stuff. It's not too complicated. And you have, each player gets to build towns and cities and roads. And basically the whole point of the game is to manage your resources. So there's decks of cards that correspond to the tiles of land. And you pick these cards up, and they have resources like wood or clay or stone, and you use them to trade with other players, and you can use them to buy and sell stuff. And basically the goal of the game is just to have the highest score based on your resources at the end.
This sounds like, what's that one game? It's based on the history. You guys are gonna hate me, especially Andrew, where people had to take the trail from the East Coast to the West Coast to
Oregon
get gold.
Trail.
Yes,
The Oregon Trail.
Isn't there a game based on that?
Not really, because it's that's individualized kind of, right? Well, this is you have 4 or 6, or I think it's 4 people, right? On a board?
4, but there are expansions to allow 6.
Yeah, so it's you for the base game, you have the 4 people, and they're all just fighting over resources. Essentially what it is. So it's real life. It's kind of fun.
So my favorite game that people may actually know.
People know Catan. Don't rag on them.
Please contact the SGA page if you know what Catan is, and we will love to. We will post you personally a shout out on our SGA page.
I will contact you 10 times a day. It'll all be me.
But my favorite card game is either Spades or Gin Rummy. So I'm sure a lot of people know what those are.
Shut up.
And my favorite board game is the Game of Life. So
not even Monopoly?
I'm sure.
Good to
No, I
know
actually
Amani
don't like
here
Monopoly.
is 50 years old.
I was going to say.
I'm 50 now because I like classic games that people have actually heard of.
You're a boomer, man.
What is Sabaku and Catan? I don't know what that is.
No one.
There's no U at the end of Sabaka,
Okay, it's just.
my God.
Well, I also like Sudoku. So
Sudoku
Sabak,
is pretty cool.
Sudoku, same thing. That's a common ground that we have reached.
I was going to say, Amani, have you ever played Egyptian Rat Screw?
Is that where you smack the table?
Yeah.
Yes, I like that game.
You're not going to beat me at that.
I would definitely beat you at that.
You're not going to beat me at that. I'm a god.
You just are rats.
Yeah, exactly. It's named after me. But we're talking way too much about board games and card games. Let's toss it back to you. I guess just to get to know you better, I guess where did the change... Well, I mean, you kind of touched on it, but what exactly was your line of thinking when you had that change of heart where you were a criminal justice major and then you decided to hop over to journalism? What was at least the thing that just sort of pushed you over the edge and you were like, this is going to be my passion from now on?
Well, the funny thing is, when I was a freshman in high school, I evidently did well enough on some exam that I was invited to some forum for law and CSI. And I was like, yes, I want to do the forensics. I want to do the crime scene investigation type stuff. That sounds really cool. And I did this little forum. I had a blast in Washington, D.C. Not even going to talk about the price, though. It was expensive. Lucky enough, I was able to do it with some assistance. But anyway, so I was very set on CSI for freshman year. The rest of high school, not so much, but I looped back around and decided to make it my major. Well, I come to KSU and I find out, oops, if I want to go into forensics as a career, I'm going to have to major in biology or chemistry. I'm not a science math guy. I like Bill Nye. That's about as far in as I get.
Bill Nye, the science guy.
But, you know, all through high school, my teachers are like, Alex, you're, like, really good at writing. I'm like, ugh, writing? Who writes?
Not me.
Not me. And then I come to university and, you know, I joined the Sentinel, and I'm like, maybe this isn't as bad as I thought it was. And over time, I kind of realized that I really had a great opportunity to kind of really get to explore what I was good at with it. And when I finally started putting the energy back into the Sentinel that I really should have been from the start, I kind of realized that I actually really do enjoy writing. I mean, I love it. I love writing papers for classes. I love writing.
Whoa. We have a psychopath in the building.
In my defense, generally I get to pick the topic for the papers, and I like talking about food.
Fair. That's an interesting one.
I have gone off in my papers about food as a communication tool, and food is like all kinds of stuff beyond just food. I think it's a fascinating subject, and that's for another day. But yeah, I just kind of realized writing, you know, I was good at it, so there was no reason not to, you know, foster it. And then once I started fostering my skills with writing, trying to improve, kind of figured out that, you know, it's kind of fun to do something you're good at. So I decided, you know what, screw it. Why don't I do this?
I'll hop on here as from one writer to another, and just say that I am like envious of your attitude where this one writer that I like, same guy who wrote the LBJ books, this guy named Robert Caro, journalist who I guess turned into being a historian because his whole deal is he spent his entire life writing biographies. But he had a really funny quote where someone was asking him, like an interviewer, oh yeah, you know, what do you like? Do you like writing? He was like, hell no. Heck no. I don't actually like writing. And she was like, I thought you said that. And he was like, no, I like researching. And at least as like on the historian side of thing, right? That's what's most interesting to me, is that the actual like process of like sitting down and writing and just getting everything out is like pulling teeth for me, man. I end up like, I don't know. I do all my essays at the last minute, get A's on them because I don't know. I wouldn't be doing
Humble brag.
It is very much a humble brag, but I just sort of put him down. But the only thing that I guess I enjoy most is the actual process of research. I wish I had your attitude where it was just like it wasn't like pulling teeth.
You know, it's funny. I absolutely hate research.
Me too. I hate research and writing.
Because my problem is, especially for me with academic writing, is like I'll find an argument that I want to make that like you can observe and you go outside.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're like, but you have to back it up with academic sources. And no one else has done any research into this topic. And I'm like, unfortunately, I'm not here to do undergraduate research right now. So I guess I don't get to write about this.
I was going to say that like with history, and this is also true poli-sci as well, like depending on the topic that you want to go into, I mean, it really, the actual research that you can find is extremely limited. But if you're going after the primary sources in particular for history, it's like a thrill, I guess is the best way to find it, that if you find something that backs up what you're trying to say or that fits into what you're trying to say, there is really, I mean, there are better feelings, but it's a very good feeling to be able to find that stuff. And I guess that's where I get my source of enjoyment with doing research. But writing,
I like math, numbers.
We got a nerd over here.
She's a nerd.
I like accounting because at the end of accounting, it balances. There's always somewhere for the money to go, some account. You know where it came from. You know where it goes. Everything just equals each other. There's no research. There's no writing, except for maybe writing accounts receivable, cash, accounts payable, equity. That's it. I love it.
You know what, Amani? I can respect it. I think math is cool. I just rag on it because I'm bad at it.
Yeah, and I feel the same way about writing. I'm not necessarily a bad writer, but I don't enjoy it, and I'm definitely not the best writer. So I see where you're coming from. It's not that I really hate it; it's just not my favorite, and it's not my strong suit per se.
I was gonna say that like I think a lot of people like actually doing real talk here, but like at least in my mind, there's like a kind of mutual respect I think between the social sciences or the humanities or whatever and like STEM, where I think the best way to view all of them, especially math, is like an actual concept of is like it's like an art, right? That writing itself is very much an art. It is. You know, I'll be a little bit pretentious here and be like that at least the best way to think about math is that it gets really close to that idea of Plato and his idea of forms, those universal truths. Or whatever.
Here we go. I'm
being pretentious.
I'm logging off.
I'm being pretentious, but I'm also saying that like STEM people, it's an art. I respect it. Don't, whatever. Anyways, that was my dumb pretentious spiel. But yeah, it's I like a lot of what happens in the university system. I don't really want to be an academic as my career, but everything that happens here, if you think of it in terms of like, oh, we're producing something that's like kind of beautiful in a sense. It's A-okay. It's pretty nifty. I'm a big fan.
I can really respect that outview, Andrew. I think it's really something, especially when you can view a lot of things in like an artistic light. I have a really hard time with that. I've kind of been trained not to do that because, journalism, you got to be objective and you got to not be, biased or opinionated. And I'm just like, all right, them's the facts. And that's the end of it.
I like facts. I don't like gray area. I don't like maybe. I'm big on facts, black or white, which is why I like math. Because if you add stuff, it's always going to equal something, and it's not really negotiable. So
until you get into imaginary numbers.
Yes, but I don't do that type of math when accounting. I just do simple addition, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, that stuff.
I was going to say, but our jobs are operating within gray areas constantly.
Yeah, I like this part.
You try your best to avoid the gray areas, but
I try. It's
I'm
impossible.
like, I live in it, and that's also ties back to my idea of politics. It's kind of not fun if you want to be a good person. but yeah.
Now, we just have a couple of minutes left in our little time block here, so I just want to real quick give a shout out. These guys, like I said earlier in the show, they're great. They're great people to work with, to talk to. Really, if you're looking to make a change or you want to see somebody work towards a goal with the university, these guys are the ones to reach out to. They're open to communication. They're upstairs in the student center on the second floor, right above Panda.
Yes.
Yep.
So if you really want to, I guess you could go knock on their door and bother them in person. But I don't know if they'd like you for that.
Yeah, we would absolutely hate it if you do that. No, do that, please.
Yes, actually.
We want to hear your feedback. We want to know what's going on campus. I mean, you're probably going to be hearing from us soon. Now that we've got our little intern program set up, we're just going to be sending them out on campus to go suss out what's happening and talking to people. But yeah, if you yourself are interested in getting to know us directly, please come by.
Well, folks, we've just about hit an hour here, so I just want to give one more shout out real quick to the a survivor's story, a domestic violence panel discussion. Again, that's going to be on Monday, October 11th at 7 o'clock p.m. It goes till 8:30. Speaker's going to be Kimberly S. Garrett, sponsored by KSU Student Advocacy. Seriously, go check this panel out, just like you should check out our folks here with SGA. And of course, in the future, you guys will not hear my dulcet tones on this show because they're going to be taking over your Monday nights, not me. And like I said earlier, this is Amani and Andrew After Hours. So you have that to look forward to in 2 weeks when they talk to a couple of RSOs or potentially talk to some other members of SGA to really tell you guys what's going on with their lives, both in and out of the university's circle. So do you guys have anything you want to say before we sign off here?
Nope, just come see us in the office, send us an email, follow us on Instagram, whatever you have to do to reach us. We're here.
We've also got our, I don't know what number, is it like the 4th general body meeting, the 5th?
Oh, this year I think it's the 4th.
It's the 4th general body meeting where students can come in and around new business sort of say their piece and be like, hey, I'm a student, I'm interested, and yada yada, and I want SGA to address this. Come in. We'll be in the Wilson Center or Wilson Student Center on Marietta. The ballroom's there. You can come in, sit down in the audience, and see what we do. Promise that the meetings won't be dull.
They're always exciting. Something always pops off.
Something is always interesting. Yes. But yeah. Also be on the lookout for our Instagram page. Amani talked about it earlier. Follow us, ksu.sga. We'll be posting about any events or anything that we're working on.
Well, folks, this is where we sign off. This has been Amani and Andrew and Alex for one episode After Hours.
Triple A.
So look forward to the to their tag team duo coming into you on not next Monday, but 2 Mondays away from here. So you beautiful people out there, you have a good night, and we will see you next time.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you for having us.